get to the tea. So today I wanted to talk to you about a really interesting subject. And I'm sure maybe some of you parents may have been dealing with your kids about this, maybe not. Maybe you don't see it as a big deal. Just maybe, just maybe, you may be thinking that your children are one way in your presence, but that's just how they always are. In my experience, I want to say my oldest, oh my gosh, is she 20? My oldest is about 27. So, in my experience, in the 27 years that I've been just a parent alone, a foster parent 20 years, but just a parent alone, I I have seen that my kids would act one way in my presence, but when they got around their friends or when they get out of my presence and they get around other people, other kids, maybe their associates or whatever, they act differently. Well, I wanted to really talk about that and really talk about the changes in our children as it pertains to a little bit about social media, YouTube, that sort of thing, because this is something that we've been dealing with our own daughter, our own teen daughter, because she's the youngest. My other children are grown, but this is my baby girl. But this is something that we've been dealing with my own child. So if I'm dealing with it, I'm sure I am not the only one. One of the things that my husband says is, and she's from Mexico, so she came over here before she came to us. It was like she had already been in the States like a year, and then she came to us, and then she's been with us the rest of the time. But one of the things that he's been complaining about is that, and I don't want to say complaining about, but really upset about, is that he's saying that people are changing her. They're changing her attitude. They're changing her behavior. And that she's not hanging around anyone because we're on distance learning. However, before distance learning and her being in school, the pressure of the kids and her wanting to fit in and boyfriends and all of the things, and you guys know how I feel about boyfriends, 100% against it. They're too young. They cannot really understand the ramifications of what can happen in relationships. They're just too young, period. It's just too much involved in all of that as it pertains to their education, them growing up, school, that sort of thing. However, we have another piece that's now made things a little more challenging, because now we're dealing with the enemy that we can't see. So, attack from a distance, guys. The kids don't know, like our teens don't know. And a lot of parents don't know that the family is being attacked from a distance. So, Satan is getting more sneakier about the attacks. So when I was talking about earlier about my husband complaining, and it's not really him complaining, what he's saying is very valid. And what he's saying is that things that the kids are watching on YouTube, it changes their minds, it changes their perspective, it changes their attitudes, it changes their outlook on life, like the way they see things, the way they perceive things, the way they say, oh, when, parents are being uptight or whatever have you, or it's not really that serious, or that's not that big of a deal. So these things, these social media sites, if it's Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat or Twitter, it's so many other sites that I've now found that kids have access to, or they can gain access to. And even at one point with the school, one of the things that I would consistently go up to the school about is that on the Chromebooks, the kids have access to everything. They can get into stuff. And not too long ago, my son was telling me that when they would block a site out, he knew how to get around it. Now, my son is 22 now, and he's telling me these things, and I'm like, oh, so you were like the little genius that knew how to do. And he was like, Mom, we always knew a way to get around these things. We always knew a way of how to get to whatever sites we wanted to get to, if we really wanted to get to them. So after, like, even with him telling me that, one of the things that I would go to the school about and talk to the principals about is the access to getting on sites that kids don't need to be on, because it's shifting their perspectives, and it's influential in a negative way, not in a positive way. And so At one point, one of the principals said, "Oh, we're having a meeting. We're going to talk about this thing, and I want to make sure to bring your thoughts and your opinions and your ideas and just your objection to all of the access that they have to computers and all of that stuff." It wasn't my objection to the computer. It was my objection to certain sites that needed to be blocked. And he said that he wanted to bring it before the board, talk to them, and them discuss how they can technologically block these sites from kids getting in. However, after hearing my son and him telling me how they would block sites when he was a kid, how they would block sites, and then he knew a way to get around that, I'm just like, wow, very interesting. So if my son was bright enough and brilliant enough to think about a way to get around these sites, think about how brilliant your own kids are. Think about how bright your own kids are. Brilliant enough to think of sneakier ways to get access to whatever it is that they're trying to get access to. So I know just recently, me and my husband, we kind of went back and forth about like YouTube, what the kids are watching on YouTube. And I don't mean back and forth in a negative way. I'm saying back and forth in a way that he's upset because my teen daughter was getting on YouTube and what she was watching wasn't really, it was like a prank or some sort of type of a prank. And this was just like last night. So she was watching some type of a prank where the kid would hand someone a pillow, and then with the other pillow, he would hit the person with the pillow. And it seemed to be funny. And well, I know it was funny to me. I'm not going to even hold you. It was funny. The response of some of the people. And then one guy got upset, and then they ended up having a pillow fight. And then the guy and him, there was no bad blood or anything like that between them. It just was really funny how it ended up turning into a pillow fight. And some of the people were like, what the heck? So it's funny when you're watching it. I'm sure when you're in that situation, not so funny. But to me, that was just kind of harmless. But my husband was saying, no, honey. He said, because if they're watching this or that, there are other things that she could be watching that's inappropriate. Now, mind you, I have talked to her about some things that I can't, because I can't physically hear what's going on, but I'm sitting in the bed because my leg is broke, so I can watch and see what's going on. And just by the body language or the way they're carrying themselves or what their hand movements are, and I'll say, okay, so do you think that this is appropriate to watch? Do you think that it's influencing you in a positive way or in a negative way? Or where do you think? And these are questions that I ask my own kids because I want them to be thinking for themselves. Is this going to be a positive influence, a negative influence? How is this going to impact you as you relate to me and your dad? Is that going to influence your attitude or your behavior or anything like that? Now, she knows that in times past, various things have influenced her behavior, influenced her attitude. And so once she thought about it, then she changed it. And I would really, really not advertise, but really press the issue that we really need to be asking our children these questions. What influence, be it positive or negative, do you think that it's going to have on you in your life? And then not only that, there were other things that were going on. There was secret Zoom calls and chat rooms that the kids can get into, that they could be having these secret chats. Now, I don't have a problem with her talking to her friends, but I want to know who she's talking to. And I don't want it to be where we can't hear what's going on. So she would get on the computer and be trying to talk to friends or whatever behind our backs. And she did say, it's because I didn't want you to hear what was going on. Well, why didn't you want us to hear what was going on? Because it wasn't something that we would approve of. Obviously, if she didn't want us to hear what was going on, it wasn't a clean conversation, so to speak. And when I say clean, y'all know what I'm talking about. Anyhow, so these things were going on. So at this point, my husband is saying absolutely no. No YouTube, no Facebook, no Instagram, no Snapchat, no nothing. because of all of these little sneaky things that have been going on. But this is the deal, guys. The scripture says that there is nothing so closely covered up that will not eventually be revealed. So in essence, what's done in the dark will eventually come to light. So no matter how sneaky she would get, some way, somehow, the Lord would reveal to me in a dream, or my husband, in a vision, or whatever the case would be, or we would just get this gutless feeling that something was wrong because her attitude would be different. The way she responded to us would be different. It's just various things that we look at when we're looking at our children. We're not just looking at our children, but it's important that we're looking into them to see what is happening as it pertains to these social media sites, as it pertains to what's going on in their lives, as it pertains to if maybe you're a parent that allows them to have boyfriends or girlfriends or whatever have you, what is actually happening and what is going on. These are things that are so vitally important because we're talking about our children's livelihood. We're talking about their ability to make right and wrong decisions without the influence of anything negative coming in to influence them negatively. Now, they already have enough to deal with their own thoughts and trying to figure that out and trying to figure out their emotions and how all of that plays into their everyday life. But now we have the influence of all of the various social medias and different things like that. Now, with the school district that my kids are in right now, they have supposedly, y'all see my quoting fingers right here? There's supposedly block sites that kids can't get on, but yet they have access to YouTube. When they have access to YouTube, they have access to, I would call it the Holy Grail of what is not supposed to be social media, but in a form it is, because they have access to all of these kids doing all this weird, crazy stuff, all people doing weird and crazy stuff on YouTube. If there's something you want to know about anything, look it up on YouTube. YouTube is going to pull it right up, whatever it may be. If it's sex, if it's drugs, how to do sex, how to, whatever it is, they can pull it up on YouTube. So if you're not watching or you're not monitoring, you don't know what they could be watching on YouTube. That can be an influence. Pornography, YouTube, they can pull it up. If they want to know how to have sex or how to do whatever is going on, maybe they know how to have sex, but they want to figure out how to do other little kinky things that they don't have no business looking at. Kids, they have access to all of these things through YouTube. Type in any keyword and all of a sudden it just pulls stuff up. So you really have no idea when your kids, if you're not monitoring closely what your kids could be watching, what they could be listening to. One of the things that I have told my kids growing up is that the type of music that you listen to, it is an influence. It is an influence. If you know that emotionally you're not in a stable place, and this is something I've told my teens and even my adult girls that are not in relationships or whatever have you, when you listen to certain type of love music, makes you feel like you want to be in love, or that you're in love, or causes your hormones to do various things or whatever. Now you got a boy or a guy trying to holler at you and say blah blah blah, yada yada yada, and you're thinking, oh, because you have all of this you've planted the seed of all of this love music, so you're thinking, oh, he's the one, he's the it. No, he's not. It's a lie from the pit of hell. Satan done sent him because he already knows what's going on in your emotions and your hormones. And now your thoughts and your emotions and your attitude is already thinking this way that it shouldn't be thinking. The point that I'm making is that we have to be careful what our children are watching, even on YouTube, because they can pull anything up. My husband, he went and he got a screen, and it's a fairly wide screen, pretty big. And my TV is mounted on the wall, and then the screen that's under it sits on like a little table. And so my daughter's Chromebook connects to the screen so that we can actually see what's going on. And she has to actually sit in our room so that we can see what's going on. Because my leg is broke. I'm sitting here in the bed. I go to the restroom and sit right back in my bed because I have my kids, that is the police, their security. They don't want me out of the room so I don't fall and re-injure my leg. So they're like, nope, you sit in the bed unless we're going somewhere or whatever have you, which that was doctor's orders anyway for me not to be consistently up. So that's fine. However, I'm able to see exactly what's going on. But understand, our kids are very quick. They're very sneaky. They know how to talk in code. They know how to text in code, stuff that you have no idea what they're saying, what they're talking about, what's going on. You just never know. So even though I'm sitting here and I'm watching and I can see her screen, kids, they know how to do stuff quick. I could go to the bathroom, come back, she's already in and out. You just never know. The point of what I'm saying, it's important that we're monitoring what our children are doing on the Chromebooks as it relates to their schooling. Are they really doing work in school? Because at one point she was like missing like assignments weren't getting done or whatever have you. So what exactly are you doing? Now, when my leg was working, I was able to kind of like walk around and see the computers or whatever, kind of monitor a little bit or sit at a table and while they're doing their schooling. But I have several kids. So when you have several kids and they're sitting at a table, I remember going to my daughter's school to go and sit in her class to kind of observe the class and see what was going on. And one of the teachers was telling a young man that he didn't need to be on anything but what they were supposed to be doing, which was school. Now, computers all in the room. Back in the day when I was in class, it wasn't no computers. We was looking at the overhead projector or whatever was going on the chalkboard, and then that was just what it was. Now, as time is today, that's not what's happening. Now everybody has their Chromebooks because this is now technology and everybody needs to know about the technology and the kids need to know because the technology is the future. However, while I'm sitting in this class, this little boy is on watching basketball and some other little things that he's watching on his Chromebook. The teacher is walking around the class, and as the teacher's on the other side of the class or the teacher goes in the front of the class, I'm sitting where I can see this kid and he goes back to the basketball. So then the teacher walks back over and says, hey, look, I need you to focus and get on what you're supposed to be on. Like, this is the lesson that we're learning. Because the teacher walks over, I guess he got so caught up in what was going on the screen that he got caught. So the teacher walks away. When the teacher's standing there, he changes the screen back to what they're supposed to be looking at, which was the schoolwork. As soon as the teacher walks away, he's back on the basketball, playing the game or whatever, whatever's going on the screen. So it's really hard to monitor unless you're actually sitting in front of their screens to know what exactly is going on. People, I'm going to tell you, there are sex traffickers looking and preying on kids every day through some type of text program or whatever have you. It's so important to be looking into your kids to find out what's going on in their lives, because if they're depressed and you don't know it because you're trying to figure out your own life during this whole pandemic situation and how you're going to feed them and how what is tomorrow going to look like. And I get it, it's a lot of weight on your shoulders, but at the same time, it's important that we're looking to see what is happening with our kids, because there can be something dangerous happening right up under your nose and you not even knowing it. You have no idea what your kid is going through secretly because of all of this thing with them being locked away, not being able to socialize with friends and this and that. So then they're feeling lonely. They get on these sites. They're talking to people that they shouldn't be talking to or that they think is their friend. I even had my twins. They told me that some guys emailed them. Well, how did they get your email address? And how are they supposedly they're your boyfriends? No, they're not. Well, can we go visit them at the park? No, I don't think so. But they don't know how these guys got their email address. You guys better be paying attention, parents, to what is going on, because we have no idea who is coming into our kids' email, people. We ain't even talking about YouTube. We're now talking about the enemy coming to infest their email. Now they're thinking, oh, I'm in love, this is my boyfriend, and we're gonna go and out and have a good time or whatever have you. And I told him, I said, you have no idea who these guys are. Oh, we know them because we seen them around at school. Have you ever socialized with them? No. Have they ever tried to socialize with you or friend? No. But somehow they wound up in your email? I don't think so. I don't think so. This is why I'm really, really, you might be like, want to understand, like, what is going on? Like, why is she so passionate about this situation? I'm passionate because, number one, I love kids. I love every kid. And I want to make sure that our kids are safe. I want to make sure that parents are aware of what is going on with their kids at all times. And I know that that's hard with everything that's going on. And it was harder even when we were all in the hustle and bustle of our day and there was not the pandemic. But there are things going on right up under our noses, people. And it's so important that we understand what's going on, that we're monitoring what's going on, that we're raising our children in the way that the Lord would have them to go, so that they are then aware, so that they have a God consciousness that would say and understand. One of my kids, she told me, she said, well, I don't hear God. Yes, you do. Did you have a feeling that you shouldn't have been doing what you was doing? Yeah. Well, then you heard God, but you just chose not to listen. I don't believe that nobody hears God. I believe we all hear God. But are you listening? Are you having an ear to hear? And when God is speaking, are you being obedient to what it is that he is saying? Because that's important. One of my sons, like some years ago, and what he told me, the analogy he told me is, he said, Mom, it's just like when I do these bad things, and believe me, he gave me a run for my money. He was a teen boy some years ago that we had. And he told me, he said, Mom, the window of opportunity to do the right thing, he said, is very small. He said it's very small. But the window of opportunity to do the wrong thing is wide open. So I know that there's this small window there for me to do the right thing. And then there's this large window for me to do the wrong thing. And truthfully, Mom, most of the time, it's easier for me to do the wrong thing than it is to do the right thing. And one of the things that the Lord dropped into my spirit when I talked to him, because I was just like, when he told me that, I was, it just blew my mind, because none of the kids could explain it to me in a way that I understood what they were trying to say when they were like, well, Mom, you just don't understand, because that's all they would say. They never would break it down and say, hey, the window is small. I'm struggling here. They would just be like, Mom, you just don't understand. You're too old. You don't get it. But they never explained it in a way that they were saying exactly what he was saying. And I was just like, wow. And I told him, I said, you know what? Thank you for your honesty, and thank you for the way that you conveyed that message to me, because I've never had it put to me that way before from any kid that we've had. But one of the things that I told him that the Lord dropped into my spirit is, the more that he would begin to do the right thing, the more he chose the right thing over the wrong thing, that window of opportunity to do the right thing would become bigger and bigger. It would become bigger and bigger, and so much bigger that doing the wrong thing would just not even be a second thought. He wouldn't even think a second thought about it. He would just go do the right thing, because he knew it was the right thing to do. If the wrong thing came and there was the right thing, he would automatically choose to do the right thing, because he's already been practicing doing the right thing. So that window of opportunity to do the right thing became larger and larger and larger to him. And he was like, wow, Mom, I didn't think about it that way. And I said, truthfully, I didn't think about what you said. And to the way you broke it down to me, it was the Lord that dropped that into my spirit to be able to help you with making right choices. And not only did it help him to make right choices, but it helped me to be able to help other children to make the right choices. Parents, pay attention to what is happening with your kids. Understand that you're being attacked from a distance through secret avenues that Satan is using to try and come in and cause destruction in our kids. Our kids are the future. Trust and believe that, because when we're dead and gone, we need them to carry the mantle. How can they carry the mantle unless we pour into them the things of God so that they can then carry the mantle, so that they can then take their place in the kingdom of God and become the generals that God has authorized and designed them to be. Well, guys, I love you guys. Thank you for tuning in today. Till next time. Bye.